Breaking tonight, big drama unfolding live on Capitol Hill right now after Democrats suddenly bolt on a bipartisan budget deal threatening a government shutdown. Yes, we said shutdown. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Right now, lawmakers are scrambling to approve a more than $1 trillion spending bill that up until a few hours ago looked like it was on the way to passage. That is until liberal Democrats staged a revolt led by a woman in the upper chamber, Senator Liz Warren, who caused them to split with the White House and oppose the deal President Obama himself endorsed. The House getting back in session moments ago. The White House dispatching the president's own chief of staff to Capitol Hill, an extraordinary move tonight to try to personally hammer out a compromise as the president and the vice president worked the phones to try to get this thing back on track. But as of now, the message back from his own party appears to be, "You're not the boss of us." It is a stunning reversal of events. Remember, it was just 1 year ago that Democrats across the board relentlessly slammed Republicans over the 2013 shutdown, calling them unhinged and referring to them as hostage takers, with President Obama leading the charge.
The American people are not pawns in some political game. You don't get to demand some ransom in exchange for keeping the government running. You don't get to demand ransom in exchange for keeping the economy running. You don't get to demand ransom for doing your most basic job. So pass a budget, end the government shutdown.
Americans are tired of this type of knockdown, drag-out debt fights, which cost our economy billions of dollars. The way to put our nation on sound fiscal footing is to set sensible policy through regular order of the legislative process, not to extort concessions through dangerous hostage-taking.
And now, with only 3 days left, Republicans are threatening a shutdown. This is the most irresponsible way to negotiate a budget.
Our chief White House correspondent, Ed Henry, reports on the breaking news live from the White House tonight. Ed?
Megyn, the bottom line, an urgent situation here at the White House tonight because the shoe is on the other foot. You now have a small minority of Democrats, not Republicans, threatening to blow all of this up, and you have the potential, I underline potential, for a government shutdown. Our own Chad Pergram, our senior producer on Capitol Hill, is saying there's now going to be a vote just under 5 minutes from now, 9:05 Eastern Time in the House on what's known as the Cromnibus. So that's a continuing resolution to keep the government open and an omnibus bill with all kinds of spending, and that's what House Democrats are particularly frustrated by. They think there's all kinds of things in there that will hurt the middle class. They're particularly upset about some rollbacks of Wall Street reform that the president and House Democrats have really championed. If this were to survive a vote in the House, we don't think it will, but if it does, you then have a second problem for the president, which is a fellow Democrat again. This is why it's a twofold Democratic revolt. House Democrats saying we're voting against you in large numbers, and in the Senate, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren saying she'll hold all of this up because she's upset about these Wall Street reforms being rolled back. So what I think that what is really going on tonight is that this is the first big test post-election of the president's juice. He came out a few hours ago through his spokesman Josh Earnest at the White House podium and said, yeah, after much contemplation, we're not happy with everything, but we want House and Senate Democrats to support this. They're revolting, including Nancy Pelosi, believe it or not, the president's big ally. She just emerged from a meeting and we're told, she at one point said, quote, we have enough votes to show them never to do this again. She's not talking about them being Republicans, them being the White House. They're upset, starting with Nancy Pelosi, that the president got involved in this too late and are trying to jam this down Democrats' throats. And they're saying, look, we don't have to accept it. The other point I'd make is, what is the president doing right now? He's not speaking out on this. He was calling lawmakers earlier, but he's right now at a Christmas party behind me. I spoke to somebody who's in that party who said that they were on a line to take a photo with President and Mrs. Obama, and all of a sudden Secret Service shut down the line and said the president has to go take care of some business. He went into a room for a short time and just came back to take more photos. Not exactly sure what happened in that room. You would suspect he was talking to leaders on Capitol Hill to sort out what's next here, but the government is slated to shut down in less than 3 hours now, Megyn.
And the latest from our own Chad Pergram, our Capitol Hill producer, is they do not think this thing is going to pass, that this isn't going to go through as the president wants it to. Ed, thank you. And we'll get to Nancy Pelosi and her. She's so disgusted by this. She's with those liberal Democrats. She's against the White House. Really? Chris Stirewalt has an update for you on that. Listen, what a difference a year makes. Back in 2013, top Democrats were saying Republicans had lost their minds. They were irrational. Those were the nice comments for threatening a government shutdown. We also heard Democrats calling the GOP unhinged, legislative arsonists, hostage takers who were committing political terrorism. But when they do it, it's just fine. It's not saying Merry Christmas. Chris Stirewalt is our Fox News digital politics editor. He lives for this stuff. Chris, all right, let's just start with, we'll get to Nancy Pelosi in a second, but all the Democrats, this is hostage taking, this is ransom, this is not how democracy functions, unless we really want it to function this way, in which case forget all that stuff we said.
Well, do you know what Democrats figured out? They learned, liberal Democrats figured out that Ted Cruz and Republicans that had been able to take a small number of members of Congress and drive policy discussions by engaging in brinksmanship, that they could do it too. And they're doing it tonight.
They told us they didn't like that. They told us Senator Cruz was crazy.
Well, yes, but now it's them. And Nancy Pelosi, you have to say, it's like this. She says that she's against it and
right.
that's that way. She helped craft the deal. She helped make the deal. So it's not that she's against it. It's that the parade is heading another direction. Elizabeth Warren is whipping the caucus.
Let's just stop and underscore that for the viewers. So Nancy Pelosi comes out tonight and she says she's enormously disappointed in this White House, that they're going along with this. This is horrible. And she crafted the deal. She has no adherence to history. She does not care what she did in the past. She will just say whatever she wants to say today.
Well, she's a politician.
But she is more unhinged to the past than the other politicians. Am I wrong?
I can't put it on a scale. I don't have like a Richter scale for unhingement from the past.
Trust me, I have it right here. It's an app on my iPhone, and it says Nancy Pelosi and PolitiFact. They're constantly like that. Anyway, so keep going. So she's reversed herself entirely. But the point is, these liberal Dems are running from the deal. They don't like Wall Street reform that they're trying to push through. They don't like some other stuff. But the real orchestrator of this whole thing is not even in the House. She's over in the Senate. Tell us.
Elizabeth Warren in the Senate, who is right now the only potential real challenger to the almost presumptive 2016 Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton, the closest ally, arguably, of Wall Street in the national political scene, the closest ally of the banks, Hillary Clinton. So here's Elizabeth Warren, who could mount, one of the only Democrats who could credibly mount a challenge against Hillary Clinton, turning the Congress on a dime on the issue of helping Wall Street.
Right, so she does not care. Elizabeth Warren and these liberal Democrats do not care what President Obama wants. They don't care if he calls them. They don't care if the vice president calls them. They don't care if he sends over the chief of staff. They've got marching orders from Elizabeth Warren, who is pro-shutdown in this particular instance, who is leading the charge to get this thing shut down, because that's what they think will happen if they can't get this thing passed, which now tonight we're finding out it's not going to pass tonight. But Elizabeth Warren, you'll be shocked to hear, did not always feel this way about the possibility of a government shutdown. Listen to her when it was Republicans doing it.
We could avoid a government shutdown, but the Republicans have refused to do even that. These threats may continue, but they are not working, and they will never work, because this is democracy. And in a democracy, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win their fights through elections. For this right-wing minority, hostage taking is all they have left, a last gasp of those who cannot cope with the realities of our democracy. The time has come for those legislators who cannot cope with the reality of our democracy to get out of the way.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Ooh, man.
Elizabeth, hostage taking is all they have left. A last gasp for those who can't deal with reality. Hello.
Oh, I bet you'd like to have that line about winning elections back, because Democrats just got walloped last month. And you can argue that this is sort of an acting out. So they got a lame duck president who they're very frustrated with on everything from harsh interrogation techniques to Wall Street and a host of other things. They have a 2016 presumptive nominee that they are far from satisfied from. And their party just got a spanking in November. So they're acting out. They're using this last moment in a lame duck. But I promise you this, Counselor, if Democrats Democrats act on this, if they push it over the brink, they're going to have a test vote. We'll see what happens. This is not the end of the world. This is a test vote to count the chickens. But if they really do this, can you imagine what voters will think about a party that loses an election in clear fashion and then forces a shutdown?
All right, we're going to have Chris stand by because drama is going to happen over the next 50 minutes, and we want him to update us in terms we can understand because it's confusing. But things are falling apart there, and is the government going to shut down? And if so, what's going to shut down? And he's going to stay tuned and let us know. Again, we may get word any moment now that this bill for now is dead and a government shutdown is potentially upon us. The minute there is any news, we'll bring it to you. And Nancy Pelosi and some of the top Democrats now attacking the CIA now say they were never told about these enhanced interrogation techniques. You'll be shocked to learn that there is evidence that that is not true. The CIA says it's a lie, and we have a Kelly File investigation into the truth next.